In today's eMoney tip of the week, I'm going to talk to you about building sample clients. But not only am I going to talk to you about building sample clients, which sample clients to build. So one of the things that we really preach on our team is about finding a target market. Even if you don't believe in niching, there's the old saying, is it niche or niche, by the way? I don't know. There's a big debate on that. But I like to say niche because there's a saying that says niches lead to riches. But even if you don't believe in that, you still have to have a target market of who you're talking to. So each one of the advisors on our team has typically 2 to 3 target markets they're going towards and who they typically work with. And quite frankly, even if you don't have one, if you've been in business for a while, your clients all start to have the same issues because that's who you know who to talk to. So for example, my target markets are, I like to call the busy working professional, and the other one is called retirement red zone. So my busy working professional are typically clients between the ages of 35 and 45. They typically have 2 children. They typically are both W-2 income earners, and they are flying through life. They're busy with life's events, and they just want help making informed financial decisions. I can go into more detail about what that client looks like. And the second one I have is what I like to call the retirement red zone. It just means that they're within, and it's a play on the football, that within your 25-yard lines. So we like to look at that. They're typically within 5 to 10 years of retirement. So these clients are typically 55 to 65 years old. They typically, again, are both W-2 income earners, and they've saved diligently, but they have no idea how to take their wealth they've created and turn it into an income vehicle in retirement and looking for help with that. They typically, again, have 2 children. They typically have a second property. So if those are my target clients, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to sit in front of one of those target clients and show them a sample for whatever reason it might be, but also I want to get really good with those clients. I talk about all the time, if this is your tool you use, you need to practice it. If you're Tiger Woods, you have multiple coaches and you go out and you practice your golf game. If you're Michael Jordan, you have multiple coaches and you go out and you practice basketball. If you're a financial planner and your tool's eMoney and financial planner is your tool, you talk to clients, you want to get really good at this. People ask me all the time, how am I teaching eMoney? Because I spend an exorbitant amount of time inside of eMoney learning this. This is my tool. This is my craft. I want to be great at it. I want to be able to sit in front of a client and come from a position of authority and a position of knowledge because they're paying for my advice. So to do that, the best way to do that is to practice. Why don't you just practice on a client? Well, there's 2 reasons. One, when you're messing around with the client's data, they can see in the client portal. That's not good. What if you make a mistake inside there or you forget to change it around? Even if they don't have access to their client portal, you never want to use a live real client. The other thing I'll hear, some people create a sample client as a client and name it John Doe or whatever else it might be, but then that starts to mess up your analytics. When you log in it and you see how many assets you have connected or how many clients you have, you can't use eMoney as a good data source. So when you're inside of eMoney, this is one of the few times you'll notice I am not in present mode, because the only way to show you this is to not be in present mode. So I have masked my client information, and so we're going to hit this up here where it says add a client, and you'll see it says client, it says lead, it says sample client, and it says organization client. Depending on the version of eMoney you're using, I do use an enterprise version through LPL. You might see something a little bit different inside of it, but it should look like pretty much every version of eMoney, whether it's a street version or enterprise version, has some form of this. But you should have this sample client here. So we're going to click sample client because this is not going to come into our totals for a client. I like to call it your sandbox. This is where you want to play. So now we're going to see this, and you can see on behalf of, I have a team, so I can add these on for behalf of different people I have access to. You're going to see the sample clients. Now this is where I'll get a lot of time when I do trainings. These sample clients might be different names depending on the version of eMoney you're using. So a lot of times I see with enterprises, they've built out sample clients. They're put in here. They've changed the name. It might even be the same client, but you're going to see a little explanation of who these clients are. I always build this out this way. Even if you want to go through and delete everything, they stay as sample clients. You can't mess these up. You can always go through and add different versions of this. But you can see right here, we can change the name. So we have Jerome Johnson, Tanika Johnson. go ahead and change these names to whatever you want. Now, I love to use for my sample clients, those of you who follow my eMoney Tip of the Weeks, I love to use characters in TV shows that I love. So I have Barney and Stinson is one of my ones. I have Don Draper and Betty Draper is one of my other ones. I have John Dutton as one of my other ones. Those are references to TV shows that I love, and it's just fun, and it's a conversation piece for those clients. By the way, if you're going to do that with your sample clients, you probably should make it a TV show those sample clients have seen. So that's another thing, just to make this whole thing connect. So you want to start out with the base one that's closest to where you're at. So this young professionals with children, that's going to be the closest to my busy working professional, my target client. So I'm going to hit here to add sample client. Notice how I didn't change it here. I just want to show you how this works. One of the other key things I want to talk to you about, I talked about this in training all the time. It does sometimes, it's data intensive because you're bringing in a lot of data. So if you're on a Wi-Fi or you're out at your house and you don't have good enough internet at your house, maybe sometimes your VPN at your house chokes the data feed. You might want to do this when you're in the office. I always say when I'm doing a training, please don't everyone click on add sample client because it usually will crash the Wi-Fi when I'm doing a training. But you can see right here, now we have this client in here. Now is when you're going to go through, and just like you would do with any other client, you're going to want to clean this up. You'll go ahead and change the names around here. If your target market typically has 4 children, add 2 more children to this. If you don't use 95 as your life expectancy, then change that around. At the retirement age of most of those clients are different, change it around. Change around the financial priorities. Make this client a sample client. This is where you're going to get really good at bringing in these connections. Now, here's the other tip I have for you. If you have one that's going to be a sample client that you want to use in front of clients, and you want to have one that's a playground, name them 2 different things. So maybe Alexandra and Lewis are your playground, and maybe you rename them to, let's just say for this, Dawn and Betty Draper. Whatever you want to name them and change them around to, create multiple ones of these. So I do have multiple versions of all these sample clients. You can go in and you can put as many advanced planning techniques. You can do all the fun stuff that you like doing, and you don't have to worry about, did I delete this client data feed? And by the way, I want to show you this in a sample client. This is really important. You could actually go ahead and look at a client website. So one of the cool things is we have it set up on our default to go through the onboarding process. If you go here to preview a client website, you could actually go through this onboarding process. Click Let's Get Started, and you can see what it feels like to be a client. Now, you should have already gone through this with your own personal accounts, but if you didn't do that or you don't have the ability to do that, now you can go ahead and you can click on this and see exactly what it feels like to be a sample client. You can click through every single part of this, and I'm just clicking on some random stuff here. Again, and you can see how this data inputs into your side. So these sample clients are one of my favorite things that eMoney provides for you as a tool, because it allows you to have a great conversation with a client. If you're not using these, you got to start using them, because we all, I don't care if you've been in this business for 20 years, or you've been in this business for 1 year, we have an obligation to our profession and to our clients. If we're going to use this as our tool to do planning work, we got to be good at that tool, or we have to have somebody on our team that's good at this tool, because when you're presenting to that client, they're expecting you to have this expertise. We hope this tip helped educate and empower you to do more plans for your clients so that you can impact more lives through financial planning. If you have some great tips we don't know about, we'd love to hear about them. If you have a better way of doing what we just showed you, we'd love to hear about that, because we are a noble profession, and together we can elevate the